I'm at PASH 2015 and we're talking to Drea. Drea, can you tell us your role at the conference?
Yeah, my role over the last 2 days has been representing the disability sector and making sure that young people with disabilities are included in PASH conferences and just included in general in the talk about sex. So,
yeah, it's a big topic for sexual health and talking about sexual health because there's some pretty alarming statistics around disability and sexual assault.
There's huge statistics. Anybody that actually has a disability is 3 times more likely to be sexually assaulted within their lifetime. And young women especially, before the age of 18, about 80%, are victims of sexual assault or sexual harassment. So it's really important.
So that's endemic in the culture that we have to kind of debunk.
Yeah, exactly. And it starts in schools. It needs to start young. It's no point in talking to people who are 40 years old with a disability if they haven't had any education before that. You know, it isn't ever too young to start. I mean, too old to start, but it needs to start somewhere, and somewhere like this is just so important because it isn't done enough in schools. So, yeah.
Because you're speaking to kids, like young people from all different backgrounds, and the education has to be a community-wide education, doesn't it?
Completely, and that's where it starts, within communities, and that's why places like PASH are so important for networking and bringing like minds together so we can address all of these issues and just, debunking all of those myths, especially with young people. They think that people with disabilities don't have sex, or they don't even understand relationships, but they do because they're exactly like us. So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was actually had a group that came from your group, and they said, we just talked to this really awesome woman.
Gonna blush now, watch out.
So obviously there's a connection happening, and what they were feeding back was that they felt like there was an equality in the conversations with adults, and that's what they were getting from the conference.
Yeah, and that's what, PASH is supposed to, ground is that's what it's supposed to be about, is about respect, equality. Just everyone's different, and we need to embrace that, and we don't need to ostracise people further. And so often, especially with disabilities, it's any minority group though as well. They're continuously seen as us and them, and it just needs to be seen as we're all working together, and we all have very similar minds, and we're all sexual beings, and it needs to be talked about in a safe environment so people are comfortable.
What do you see as making people with disabilities more vulnerable to sexual assault? What are the kind of things that you see?
A massive problem with people with disabilities is not only obviously in the institutional settings, but also just not having that voice, being too afraid to speak up, not being able to find someone that they feel comfortable enough talking to, and obviously just extremely vulnerable. Anybody that's vulnerable in a community is preyed upon, definitely, but especially people with disabilities of all ages.
But there's a kind of they're vulnerable because of the behaviour of other people, and that's what we have to start. That's why the conversation has to be broad.
Yeah, it definitely does, and that was something that I found with a lot of the young people today. They were very shocked when I asked, do you think that people with a disability or mental health are more likely to sexual assault people, or are they actually being sexually assaulted? And most of them came away with saying that they thought people with disabilities were assaulting people more, but it's the complete opposite. It's actually 3 times more likely to be assaulted. So, it was amazing to see that light bulb come on for the young people. Yeah.